Hello, everyone.
I didn't dance last time for you.
You didn't. That's
I just
okay.
realized by doing my shimmy over here.
The shimmy is the move. It's the excitement move. Everyone got a Monday off, and now we're just coming in with tons of energy. I am here for it.
I felt like I needed that Monday off.
Everyone needs Monday off.
Like Saturday and Sunday I was good, but I was like, case of the Mondays, y'all. Case of the Mondays.
Yep, me too. Sadly, me too.
Mm-hmm. All right, we have one here with us. You want to bet it's Christopher?
No, I don't. I don't want to lose a bet. I'm confident that Christopher is our number one supporter. Guys, if
Um,
you're here, please introduce yourself. Christopher, it's Jessica.
woo! It happens.
What a fun.
Christopher said yesterday that he felt like he was called a plant or so revealed as a plant or something like that because he's on the team and we mentioned it.
Yeah,
Laura,
yeah. At one point, I
Christopher.
did accuse him of being Eden. I was so excited that we had a new person, and I was like, "Christopher, are you catfishing me right now?"
Poor Eden being accused
I
of being
know.
Christopher.
Yep, yep. I was very tired that day.
I didn't hear about that
Really
till
glad
after
Eden
the
is a
fact.
real person. Hi, Laura. Hi, Christopher.
We've
Sorry
got
for thinking you're fish.
our core little group hanging out today. I saw Julie posted in the group. I don't know if she'll be back today.
That
Come
would be
hang out with
nice.
us. Okay. Well, we can get started. You guys ready?
Yes,
I feel like it's a big day.
it is.
I didn't bring headphones today, so if typing gets annoying, you guys are gonna like you're gonna have to tell me so I can
Or
have
just
headphones.
ignore it.
You can't when you type, it's really really loud. You can't ignore it. So keep
Yeah,
that in
Lauren is
mind.
convinced my typing is really aggressive, so
It
there's that.
is. It is really aggressive in my opinion.
Maybe it's just who I am as a person. It's probably not the keyboard and mic situation.
I think it's just that the mic is next to it, but
You're giving me more grace than I deserve, but I appreciate it.
okay. All right, we moved our little stuff over here so I can still see comments. And
Yay.
then we have our new blocks today. So remember all those blocks? I was like, I'm gonna do these in one night, and I didn't. Yeah, I finished those. So I think we left off around here last time, where I had some step-by-step type things, and then I added some new blocks. This one's kind of plain, but I actually really like this one right here. This is the one I picture being for team members, which is why it's got kind of these landscape pictures. This is Christopher's suggestion for that like Best Buy section. He had like we had a screenshot that came from Best Buy, so now we have. I really liked how it turned out actually. This
I
was
love
Jessica's request. Yeah, of course. It looks like
that.
so bright and like literally the blue in this napkin goes with the blue like on the site. That just like made my day. So this one looks so good. But this was one of the ones that I know that Jessica had requested, like a full width image that can be used
Oh,
as a
hey,
call to
intros,
action.
guys. Tucker's here.
Oh,
Hello,
hey,
Tucker.
Tuck. When we hear barking later, we'll know that he's being needy.
He is the reason that I have to hit mute a lot.
And then I'll just go through the rest pretty quickly. They're basically all the preset patterns that come with Creator. I went in and I branded them to be
I love that one.
appropriate
Go
for
back.
our site.
Scroll up. Oh, thanks, Jessica. Nope, down. The icons in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big fan. I like what
I
you did
added
there.
those icons because someone had suggested, or maybe we pulled it for some reason from Home Base Mom, Leanne Wilkes. She had like two side-by-side sections and she had icons. And I was like, well, then we need icons.
Yeah, I like
So we
that a
put our
lot.
little icons in here.
I was playing with the idea of I wonder if we should, you're going to love this, Lauren,
I'm going to love it.
give people like 12 or 15 icons just with the theme. That way they don't have to download it. I don't know how to do that. Obviously, that's a
thought about
really
it.
lofty goal of mine, but
So there'll probably be something where we do have to include like at least one default icon.
yeah.
And I mean, I could give, like, we could give, but the, to include them in the theme, you wouldn't be able to see them from the media picker. So you wouldn't be able to like say like pick media and then go to
Oh,
like
okay.
a visual, right?
Sure.
So in that regard, it seems like it's not worth it to include them because getting to that image is kind of complicated.
Gotcha.
So
Hey, Eden, you have to rewind at some point because I have a really funny story earlier in this live stream. It involves you. Also, I'm so glad you're here.
okay, this is the last one I added. Just another menu. There was a menu right here. And then I also had one like if you used this as your category, like top menu underneath. This is our default menu, but of course you would do like categories like by course, by diet, you know, whatever. Okay, so those are all the blocks that have actually been built out. When we come to the bottom, we had created some previously to go specifically inside of posts. So we're going to use some of these today. We're going to put them inside of a post. They're going to look nicer than they do when they're full width. And we will make some new blocks to go inside of posts as well, based on whatever suggestions you guys have. But guess what, Hannah? There's a Figma document today.
Oh, great.
How much you love referencing the Figma.
Sounds like a good way for me to get in trouble.
And
oh, guys, I'm buying a yoga blog as of 5 minutes ago, so please note it's all going to be about yoga if you let me talk about it.
the site's going to be changed. The demo is going to be all about yoga.
Yep.
I love how you decided just by like voicing it to me, by me being like, "What are you talking about, Hannah?" You're like, "Oh, actually, I'm buying it now."
I did put an offer
Before
in.
you said it to me, you were like, "What if I were to?"
Yeah, I was like ducking my head and debating, and now I'm like, no, I need this. I know I have a ton on my plate, but I think I need a blog.
This is how we get into trouble.
Yeah.
Hannah decides that she needs something.
We just offloaded one of them, and here we are.
Okay, so I think we're gonna do two different post header designs just to show you guys what is possible and how you can move things around. And then we'll have two preset like options that'll be patterns that you can choose from. Essentially, these two are very similar in terms of like content. So we'll kind of talk about like breadcrumbs, post title, all of the like these dates. Oh, we should talk about dates.
Oh,
Ooh, look, it's got a little hand.
Lauren has so many thoughts.
Yeah, and then like how you do this extra information. I know I saw a couple comments from everyone basically on having recipe information in the header. So like here we've got jump to recipe, leave a comment. It also has ratings and then a rate this recipe, which really this rate this recipe button goes to the same place as leave a comment usually, but users don't know that. So it might actually be helpful for them to see that. So we'll definitely do a full width one. We can optionally decide whether we're going to include an image or not. And then we're going to do one that's not full width. So we have two examples right here. And depending on how we do that, like this one's really, really simple. It just has like breadcrumbs, title, ratings, and like stacked. There's not like an advanced layout versus like here with these save buttons, they look pretty stylized. So what are our limitations with those? So we'll talk about that stuff. I don't have any other like block or screenshots of blocks that we want inside of posts. So if you guys want to think about that, that would be something fun that we can do. And then also we have to do some sidebar stuff. So in the sidebar, we're just gonna take some of our existing blocks and convert them to work in the sidebar. We're gonna make sure we have a bio block, a like call to action, like type sign up for my list sort of thing. And then we could do categories, but so we could do like category icons or something, but we'll definitely need like top posts or seasonal posts or something like that. So maybe 4-ish blocks that go into our sidebar. And then of course, anything you guys request. What's after that? Maybe plugins. We'll see. So let's get into it. I have updated the staging site, so you guys can go to this URL if you want and follow along. All blocks is where I've been putting like everything I'm building out. So if you want to just like scroll through and look at things, I don't think I checked everything on mobile yet. So it might not be perfect on mobile, but most things should look pretty good. But this is just our home page that we had set up previously. We've got a category, it's /category 30-minute meals as well. And then we have all new blocks that we can use throughout new pages as we set them up. For now, though, let me log in. And we're going to build this section at the top of a single post template. So a couple ways to get there. If you guys remember, if you're on the front end of your site, you can go to Edit Site and then kind of navigate through the sidebar here. So you click on the logo to get into the sidebar. And then this one actually is already in template. So I just need to pick the single post template, which we'll look at in a second. Otherwise, if you go to an individual post, which is actually maybe hard on this site since we don't have real content in a lot of places. If you click Edit Site from here, it automatically takes you to this exact template. And then the last way would be to go to Appearance Editor. And then it automatically opens this toolbar, templates, and then we're going to pick our template. So we're going to start from here. Okay, so I know that they are a little confusing, so I want to explain these two again. We have single entries. This is going to actually be like your single post. So this is the one we're going to edit here. The one that's called with sidebar is just a template that is available to use for like if you create a page and you want to add a sidebar to it. But by default, all of your individual items would use this layout, which when full width, I love that there's no sidebar here. Did I literally say this backwards? Is this a page? Displays any single entry such as a post or a page. The template will serve as a fallback when a more specific one can't be found.
Like
I think I'm a liar.
Or attachment. So is there a single post?
I think this sidebar is the single post. Site editor. Single post. Yeah. It's called single post, but I named it with sidebar. We're going to have to look at that because I now cannot confirm that you can add a sidebar using this template. So we might need to add a new template because I've confused myself. Okay, by default, this is our single header. And this is what we're going to style. Right now, it's inside of the content area next to the sidebar. So I'm just going to start with it here because remember, we're going to create two versions. So let's create this one as our first and leave it where it's at. So by default, it includes breadcrumbs, post title, and then it has some information in here we're going to change out, as well as a disclaimer, which is just like, this is a synced pattern essentially. So this displays the top of every single post on your site, and you can link it to your disclosure policy. We'll kind of change this just a little, but really you guys are going to end up changing this to whatever works for your site. And if you don't want it, you can just delete it and it goes away. So let's talk about how we're going to get all this fancy stuff in here, because we want it to automatically pull in information, but some of that information is a little hard to get. So for example, if you want to pull in the post author, you have this like option to write a byline. So I could write author here and use this as the layout, but I can't actually get this to be like side by side. So instead I have manually added a label called author, and that's fine for this exact use case because I know there's always going to be a post author. And same for post date. This is, if we open the sidebar here, this is like the original publish date for whatever page it's going to show up on. And I know that there's always going to be a date associated with the post, so I can add a label to it. But then things get a little tricky with this modified date. So I can say I've got like display latest modified date, and just ignore that I clicked on that. This doesn't always have a date. This may not show up on your site if you publish the post and you haven't modified it since publishing it. And so this one, like, if we put a label there and the date doesn't show up, you'll just see the label. So now we're getting into some of the like bigger, it's probably not bigger. We're gonna have a workaround for this, of course, guys. But some of the limitations that can get really annoying for things that like just work in classic themes. Like they just work because we don't really have a ton of control over it, or there's custom coding in our theme that gives us that level of control. But if we're like trying to rely on core blocks, which we mostly are, then this is one of those limitations is we can't like add a label. So that's going to come into play a little bit more later. And we'll also talk about like this. There's a plugin that we created that if you click this pin, it'll display either, it'll display either the latest published date or the modified date, whichever one's newer. So in that case, I pretty much just remove and I only display one. But I think it's important to kind of be aware of that. Like you need to have this pin button selected using one of the plugins that we have. Otherwise, you cannot use a label unless you're okay with it just being empty next to it. So that'll kind of depend. I kind of lean towards just doing one date now. And I normally do the post modified date, but like SEOs tend to have strong opinions and I don't know what their recommendations are anymore, where they either just want like both dates displayed or they want one and they're split on whether it's modified or published. So consult your SEO or form your own opinion on what you actually want to do here. But in terms of us building it out, let's see what we're going to clone. We're going to do one of these two. And this one has like an updated date, but this one's just published. We couldn't do this parentheses updated with a block theme. Well, we could, but it would say updated, like parentheses, updated space, close parenthesis, and there'd be no date there in some very specific instances, but like probably enough that it'll be annoying, right? So maybe we'll just start with just published date. So let's do this one. We have by post author, published. We're going to do this original published date. So it's not this, this one is the modified date, but there we go, post date, side by side. I'm going to fix whatever like weird formatting is happening in here. Okay. Save this. And then let's just look at what that looks like. I gotta get back to a post again. Pretty plain so far. We'll make it pretty, of course. But now let's start adding in some of the recipe information. So recipe information is like the most common thing we add. I know you guys mentioned it a lot. Let's talk about how we get it in there and some of the limitations of having it in here. Essentially, we're going to display recipe information. So I just added a space. And we can do recipe part. And this is usually what I recommend for most of the recipe information in the header area. What we could do is do a recipe snippet, but to control all of the visuals in the recipe snippet, we're going to have to use the WP Recipe Maker template editor, which we might do on plugin day to show you how that works. But it is outside of the block editor, and so we're going to try and stick in the block editor. So we're going to do recipe part. It's always going to say block rendered as empty. Always. You will never get to see a preview of it in here. So we're going to look at the front end a lot. These are your options of what you can display. There are more items in WP Recipe Maker that are available within their templates, but are not available here. So we essentially have to do what we can with the information here. One of the most common things that I'll add is the recipe summary. Block rendered is empty, but it says it's the summary here. I leave this blank. It's going to find the first recipe. And then we didn't actually add a recipe to any of our posts.
Oh,
Same. Recipe. We don't have a recipe. Let's go steal one from Lemon. We're not going to steal one from Lemon Blossoms. We're going to do the demo one from here.
So thoughtful.
I probably would have, except for this is not a password protected site. That would not be very nice. Name, summary. Equipment, ingredients, instructions, notes. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We're going to have to add a little bit more information to get what we want to show up inside of here. But if you look at our editor, this is where we had the recipe summary, recipe part summary. Couldn't preview it, but it is actually here. So that one's pretty easy. Let's talk about some of the harder ones. I'm going to add another, so I'm just duplicating the first one. And then let me see what our options are. Author, cost, equipment, ingredients, notes, pin button, rating. Rating's a good one. They don't have the times on here. All right, we'll talk about that in a second. Let's start with rating. Save it so you can see what the rating looks like on the front end. There are no ratings. Well, you know what? I think this recipe is pretty darn good. All right, so if we do the rating, it's literally just 5 stars. Remember when we looked at this and it's 5 from this number of reviews? We can't do that. It's just 5 stars. There's no context. Let's say that we want to come up here and say rating, right? And we'll put those side by side. Pretend it looks okay. Now, remember when I refreshed it and there were no stars? If you put this in your template header and there are no ratings on a post, or let's say this is a post that doesn't have a recipe. Let's say you have content on your site that doesn't have recipes. It's just going to say the word recipe rating, and there's going to be nothing after it. So I know this is a little bit disappointing because we want this to look nice. So let's go ahead and actually, because we don't have times, we don't have the ability to do like total time here either. Let's look at how we would actually have to do this if we did it through a snippet. So first of all, if we look at this demo, if we wanted to do this through a snippet, we basically would be doing it through the template editor for WP Recipe Maker. Anything we wanted to have recipe information come from, including like we can do the jump to recipe buttons, but essentially like if we want it to come from the snippet, it all is probably going to be together. Otherwise, we're getting really, really fancy. So let me show you what I mean. Recipe snippet. It exists in one place. Let me delete this and this. So this is the recipe snippet. You literally, there's not even a box to show you where it's at. You have to be in the outline view to see it. Let's see what our snippet includes. Okay, so the default snippet is just the jump button and print buttons. So I can like choose where I want that to be, and then I could go into the editor and add anything I want, but it's all in one place because it's a block. If I wanted to put it in multiple places, uh-oh. No, thank you. One more time. Here we go. If I wanted to put it in multiple places, like I wanted it to be, let's see, after the disclaimer. So I have it first, like after the title, and then again after the disclaimer. I'd have to set up 2 different snippets. So here I have like snippet basic, and then I can put the buttons down here. And I have no clue what's going to show up. Okay, just different styled buttons. But let's say you put different content in them. All right, we're gonna go look at how we do that, but then I may or may not focus on it too much, depending on what you guys want, really. So WP Recipe Maker, we're gonna go to this template editor. And then we need to create a new template. It's a snippet template. These are the default ones. I'm gonna clone and edit. Let's do this button one. This will be, well, also, let me look. So there's a description with a rating up top, then normal information, then buttons. So we'll just call this like custom buttons. This gets saved in your database. So any changes you make to this are like updated in WordPress and there's not revision history. So essentially if you accidentally deleted a template or made a change that, I'm getting too techie. Don't worry about it. It's all going to be fine. Don't think about it. Don't think about that. Okay, we can. Are you guys familiar with this editor? Have you guys used it before? I don't know how quickly I should move within this editor, but everything now stylistically, nothing can be styled about like what we're doing in these snippets within the Gutenberg editor. Everything's limited to what you can do within this editor. So I could add additional blocks, for example. So I'm going to click on add blocks and then I would pick from this list. Let's say I want to add a pin button. It says you're going to add it after another block. So you're not done. It hasn't been added. You have to like tell it where you want it. So I want it at the start. And then it doesn't have any settings yet. So it automatically took me to edit block and I have to click into that element. And then I have settings here that I can fill out. So let's say I'm going to make this an inline button. I really want it to look very similar to this jump to recipe. So what I can do is I can go to, I'm already in edit blocks. I can click blocks to go back to the top, click jump to recipe, copy styles to, and then pin button. Click stop, go back to my pin button, and then fill out anything else I want in here. So basically I'm just going to add an icon. You can only add the icons from the selector. Actually, that's not true. I think there's a way you can set a custom URL here if you want. But I find that more complicated than necessary. All right, so if I save these changes, I go back to this template. I'm going to refresh it so I can see the custom one listed in here. And then remember, we can't even see those recipe snippets, so we need to open our outline and hunt them down. So custom buttons here, save on the front end. Try to get, there's no pin description. There's no pin image in our recipe. Why did I pick that? You're gonna have to trust me that it updated. Let's remove the print button just so we can tell the difference between them. Remove blocks, print. Okay, save. All right, so we can at least see that it's doing it. And so if I want to do something different up here, I would come into the, I would have to create another template, snippet template. Let's start with this summary. Okay. Clone and edit, custom summary, remove blocks. I don't want either of these. I'm going to add blocks. I want the summary. And I also want add blocks rating. I did those in the opposite order. So we're going to click move. Oh no. Move rating before summary. Oh, did not like that. And then all I'm going to do is for this rating, edit rating. I want this to be stars with details so that I can see this extra information. And let's just leave it like that. I have to tell it that I want this. Refreshing the template, finding that snippet in here again. setting it to our new custom summary, and then refreshing. All right, so you can see this is pretty complicated. I recommend that we make 2 headers that are pretty much going to be liked, and maybe that you can delete stuff easier than adding stuff. Technically, there is a 3rd way that you can add this information, which would be to use shortcodes. So I could come in here and I could say shortcode, and then WP recipe summary, I think is maybe what it is. Let's see if that works. It did. So that would be another way. The benefit of doing that, which you wouldn't know these and you'd have to look them up, but let's say that you want to, you can at least style these partially. You know what? Never mind. You don't want to do that, and I'm going to skip it. I'm going to make us pretty headings, guys. So I'm going to skip the recipe stuff now that I've explained some of the not fun parts of doing recipe headings. We're just going to put in, like, here's where recipe information would go, and then I'll have to do that stuff later. So first of all, this one's going inside of the post content. So I'm not going to give it a background color or anything like that. I am going to like just probably, the spacing actually looks pretty good. Breadcrumbs are small right now. They're set to extra small by default. You can't style the breadcrumbs block. So again, here I think you guys are seeing the limitations of plugins that are made for classic themes. They are assuming you're going to style that stuff custom or like use whatever their external settings are. They haven't fully integrated with Gutenberg. So for at least Yoast blocks, if I put it in a group, then I can style that group and it's inherited by the breadcrumbs. So that's how I'm changing this to extra small. And then we're going to change the font weight to be heavier. I'm not going to have anything to talk about on plugin day because I'm doing it all. We're going to go into...
It's fine.
Your breadcrumbs are probably already set up the way you guys need. But since this is a new site, like I actually need to tell it to display categories. And I had previously changed this separator so that it looks a little nicer when it shows up here. Okay, that font weight is a little heavy for me, so don't mind me as I go change it to be lighter.
Yes, semi-bold. Much better.
Might be medium. Tell me that doesn't look better, Hannah. Try and tell me. We're only going to leave this summary. I'm going to remove the snippets because I don't like that I can't see them in my outline. And then, so let's see. We're going to assume this is the snippet right now, or essentially this. We have our author and date. Let's make those look a little bit nicer. So I don't want this author to be pink. I'm just going to make him black. And then we have our published date. I think I'm going to stylize these. Do I have time, Hannah? You want me to move on? I want to make them.
I think you need to do something. We're so boring. You took away pink. It was the only color in the whole thing.
Okay, we're going to get there. I didn't know how much I was allowed to do here and not bore people to death, but we're going to
I've been bored.
You've been
somewhere
bored.
in WP Recipe Maker. I just died a little inside.
Yeah. Okay. I don't blame you.
It's
fine.
This works for our people.
Okay. Our labels are going to be that lowercase font that we have. We're going to add a little bit of letter spacing to it. All right. For this, we're going to just like add a line. Let's see if I like it. Can you guys hear my dogs right now?
No, not at all.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks for
You wanted to blame Tucker, didn't you? He's normally the one that barks.
I don't like this border at the bottom here. So I'm going to get rid of him. That's not really on brand. We'll come back to it. We have to do some buttons. Should we do the buttons here? No. I'm not going to do anything more recipe maker related. I know we need it in there, but now you can see that I have to work a little hard to make it happen. Do you hate me because I'm changing the font weight of this?
Oh, just kidding. The font weight attacks me. Okay, while you're having a font moment, I have to say it. Air fryer on the buttons up top looks more italic than chicken. And I can't explain it, but I keep looking and I know it's just the font.
It's just the letters. It's the descenders here.
It's something about it. I keep like leaning closer. Like is this guy?
Don't worry, we're gonna make him look like he's a Link. Oh, he's not gonna be pink though.
Jessica agrees with me. I think if we just swap chicken and crock pot, no one would ever notice.
I love that this is what's killing you right now. That
I meant the other way, but I think that'll it's fine. Don't look too hard, Jessica. I'm sorry for distracting everyone.
What else do we need? Oh, we have to talk about social share. That's the other thing. Again, more plugins. So let's talk a little bit about social share. If you want to put social share in here, there's no good way to do it. I'm such a hater.
We all get to zone out while Lauren does code things.
I'm not going to. I don't even think we have Hubbub installed. Let me see. No. So I can install it real quick, but even this, I'm not even sure you can use the shortcode unless you pay for it, which I don't. Okay, so social share. Also, if you want it to be stylized at the top, you're going to do all of your design for social through that social plugin. But if you want it to be like in your post header, then we actually have to probably have the premium theme to be able to use this shortcode, premium plugin, sorry, so paid version of the plugin to even have access to this shortcode. And then we have to actually use this shortcode because there's not a block for it. So I don't have any like block specific plugin that I recommend for social share. Everyone seems to use Hubbub still. So I would either have the paid version and use the shortcode or whatever the shortcode is inside of my header template, which I probably will set it up for you guys under the assumption that you have that. Otherwise, you're going to be looking in the plugin settings and just inserting it at the top of your content, and it's going to show up here between these two, which now have a weird gap that I may or may not fix right this instant.
Never had a doubt.
Yeah, this is the like actual size between. So we do need some sort of separator there. I don't like these lines here. But I feel like I'm kind of working with my hands tied behind my back on this post header because of the fact that like a lot of the stuff that we want to put in there is going to be plugin related content. And that's hard to do.
So now we know we can all wait with bated breath until Thursday, right?
When I have it completed.
Isn't Thursday plugin day? Or is tomorrow plugin day?
Well, I think I'm just going to style this stuff on my own because I don't think it's going to be fun for anyone to watch like me go through the template editor of plugins. So we might talk about like sharing Hubbub settings or something, but I'm not going to show you how I make a template for the recipe card. That would be incredibly boring. And you can't reuse that knowledge anywhere. So like if you learn how to use the WP Recipe Maker template editor, you're going to make one template, one recipe template. It's not worth it to learn, in my opinion. Okay, what else do I want to do? I mean, I want to show us how we do a full width one because I think that's a lot more interesting because it has more than just like recipe information, but there's still caveats.
I want a picture. Give me one.
You want a picture?
Yep. Make
so,
it pretty. Oh, Eden says ambitious kitchen.
The ambitious kitchen one. Is that one this one? You guys are cute thinking I remember which one's which.
Can we see it? My eyes are not that good.
Should I make this like bigger? Hold on.
I mean, the potatoes. Yep.
Thanks,
you.
Eden. Okay, so we can do the ambitious kitchen one, and I'm gonna show you. Yeah,
Of
I
course you
figured that would
recognize
be
her
the case.
header.
I'm gonna show you how we do this like large image, but we're still gonna run into a lot of the same issues that we did previously because this summary here, like to pull in a summary automatically, it has to come from some sort of custom field. That's your recipe description. So this is coming from your recipe description. These times here, this has to be done through a recipe snippet. So we're probably just using like this as a snippet right here where we have the summary and then we have the recipe times. And the styling for this is pretty much like one of the generic styles for WP Recipe Maker. So like you can get this particular layout by I think just choosing their like table or something like that. And it looks like this. And then so what we can do is essentially a date, a title, this description, or the disclaimer policy, and then I will show you how we can put an image off to the side. But like getting that jump to recipe button there probably would I'd have to use short codes.
Yeah.
Kathy, I think, is talking about how what?
Go ahead. Go.
She knows the summary pulling in here. And maybe I mentioned this the previous day because I was thinking of Kathy and a couple other sites, honestly. If you pull the summary in here and you were also using that summary at the top of your post because you wanted it to be higher in your content rather than just in your recipe card, it's going to be repeated. And so your options are either to not have a summary in your header and just have it at the top of your post, or to remove the line at the top of your post and just keep it inside of your recipe card, which is where this is going to be pulled from. So it's going to show up at least 2 times probably, which is in your post header and then also in your recipe card. But what Google sees is just that it's like the first paragraph on the site. They won't know the difference if it's in your header versus it's in your post content. So you can do either, but you kind of have to pick one. And if you picked one and you want to change, you have to do it manually. You have to go delete that.
So I almost wonder, this is because you know me, I hate being told no, right? So your dev speak is like, I want to make this as easy as possible for you. However, here are the caveats. And I'm like, well, just build it manual and I'll write my pretty sentence in there and I'll put my time and prep time and everything in there. And then it's styled. I just have to manually input it. And then if I ever get to the point where my life is so put together that I actually have all that information in WP Recipe Maker, it would never happen for me personally, but I'm sure some of you guys are organized because you are food bloggers. Then it could be inserted using development or code. Is that an option? I mean, I know it's an option with block themes. You just think it's dumb. Proceed. I'm just saying you can make it pretty for Eden.
It actually requires
to be smart.
It actually requires so much more manual work because you would have to have it's way harder that way. Do you want me to tell you why? Or you want me to just tell you it's harder?
No, in theory, like you're writing the post either way. So you get this new template, you're writing your new post, and now bam, they're pretty.
But your old posts need to have a title. Okay. So you would essentially need to have 2 different headers on your site then, where one is that it's got a plain header, not jazzy, and then you manually change the post template on, well, this isn't an actual post. Let's say we edit this one. We edit this and we create, like we change it to some other template. So I come in here, I say swap template when it loads, and then I change it to something that's made for me to manually create the header. And then I have to remember to like make sure I insert that because that's the H1 on my page and everything, which is like, oh, I love that this is not even loading swap template. So I'd have to refresh this page. Remember, guys, when I tried showing you the other day how slow this can be? Here it is. Ooh, that's What if you cannot swap template for this page?
What if?
Okay. Let's say you can. Now I have to add another template, and then later in the future, when I decide that I want to update everything to use the same header again, I have to go into every single post and swap the template back to the original.
I'm just
Otherwise, it
saying,
has two headings.
all of those words were a yes, you guys. I don't like
You're
hearing
not
no.
wrong.
All of those words did mean yes. We can make
You
it pretty
can do
block.
it. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea.
From the database management perspective, but from the I want pretty posts today, and I will go and fix everything later. I'm gonna make a template for everything
That's
that I'm
not
creating
where
from
we're
this
gonna
day forward.
compromise. That's not where we're gonna make a pretty. We're gonna make a pretty. Where the heck did this? We're gonna make this pretty. It
Pretty
just.
option with compromises.
It's just not gonna have the summary or the timing in it. We're just gonna make it with everything else. Okay, I need that to be over here. All right, we're going back to not doing what Hannah wants.
Just
All
saying,
right,
you can do it.
so
You can do anything you
me
want
to
in block themes, guys.
for me to change this to a top to be full width along the top, I'm literally just going to pull this purple section up so that it's no longer inside of the columns that keep my content side by side. So now it's full width, or it takes up the full content area. I'll make it full width. What did I just make full width, guys? Because I don't think it was the right thing. It was this. We're gonna only work with this group. We can't. We're gonna make it full width up here. So the purple section full width. This group, though, I need it to have content width so that oh, it did not show that it has content width. Something is killing me here. Hold so I can see what's happening. Okay, it actually looks correct on the front end. It just doesn't look correct in my editor. But then just like we did anytime we added a background literally anywhere else on our site, add the background color, throw in some padding. This will be done for you. Refresh. Already looks pretty fancy by throwing it up there. But let's put an image in it. I feel like I should have prepared this beforehand. Like I knew Eden wanted that side-by-side image. Why didn't I practice? Okay.
Are we allowed to beg you for the jump to recipe overlay, or is that too far?
We can try it.
Okay.
I'll show you what we can do without styling and doing complicated stuff. Okay, so I have my group. I want my image as well. No matter which side you want your image on. Oh, darn it. All of this content is going to be on one side, so it's in a group. This image, it's going to be on one side. It can be alone because it's all on its own currently. But no matter what side you want the image on, put it at the bottom because this order is the order in which it's going to load on mobile. So unless you want the first thing they see to be an image with no title or description or anything, especially depending on how large the image loads, put this at the bottom. From here, there's two ways we could do it. We could use the media and text. The convenience of using media and text. So let me convert this real quick. Let me make add an image in here. And then let's convert this to media and text. The convenient part of this is that you can have it be on either side and it will show up underneath on mobile. You can also control the height of this image a little bit better. However, there's some spacing weirdness with this block, and you can't add border radius to the image, which if you guys remember, I'm adding everywhere. So for our particular use case, we're going to just use a columns block for this. And so the image is going to be in one column, and then our group of content can come to this other column. All right, let's see what we've got so far. So without much effort, I could change this image to a square, and it looks pretty close to this. I mean, there's not really enough content here on the left-hand side comparatively, but that's something that I'll fix later. So let's come in here. We're going to make it square. I'm going to add the border radius to it, and the shadow that we have on all of our images to make them pop. Did I not make that square? I did. Here. All right, let's get a little bit fancier. Do you see a blank comment from Eden?
I do. I do.
I bet
indeed.
I bet it's this weird software we're using.
Surely. Or Eden is just speechless. She's like, it's wrong. It's right.
It's
everything.
wrong, it's
It's
right.
nothing.
I really wish that I could just do it manually on every single post moving forward.
It's missing things.
We're gonna go look at Ambitious Kitchen real quick and see. Well, it's missing things because we don't have all the recipe stuff in there. Hers is kind of in line. So let's make ours like that too. Like
A clapping sticker. Aw, thanks.
oh. Let's make ours look a little bit more like that by just removing the full width, the background color, and the padding. I think I have to fix the margin as well, actually. Maybe not. Definitely.
Can we get a big cursive date up top, or is that too far?
Yeah, let's do it.
I liked him.
All right, so this one's without the background color. I mean, we have to remove the color and change like some alignment and padding stuff. That actually kind of follows a formula. So if that seems confusing at first, like, and you picture yourself changing blocks between having background and not, like, honestly, normally this would be, let's put this in another group so we can kind of cheat. Normally you'll have one group and then you'll change it to full width. You'll give it a background color, and then usually you'll just do medium, especially inside of a post. On this site, I've been doing large on the top bottom. And like, that's how I add a background and make a full width section for everything.
Thanks, Kathy. Isn't Lauren great?
Okay, you want a full, not a full width date. You want a pretty date.
Yeah. I feel like
So
that's
we're
one
gonna
of the
take this.
skills of Ambitious Kitchen. I don't know.
It is. I mean, our date's going to look different because we don't have a script font. We only have the fonts that we have, right?
Well, we get
So
italic.
I just
big italic.
Yeah, I just said I want it to display the most recent date, not when it was published, but whenever it was modified, unless it hasn't been modified, then when it was published. I'm going to use my typography settings. I'm just turning them all on because I'm lazy. Lowercase. I want the size to be extra large. I want it to be large. And then, why does it look bold? Maybe just because of how large it is?
Maybe.
It's so sad compared to Ambitious Kitchen.
The all lowercase.
Yeah, but we're using all lowercase everywhere else. And that's why I was doing it.
I know.
I just feel like it looks bold. It
Better.
definitely is. I don't know how, but it's definitely bold. Gotta fix the... Okay. Hey guys, advanced topic. For the most part, whenever I need to change the spacing between two items, I use the margin top of the bottom item. So like most of the site has space added between items by adding a top space to the lower item. And so for this title, if I want to pull it closer to this date, then I have to change the margin top. So just this top item to something smaller. So it starts as medium in most cases, and I would just like decrease it to something I like. And that's how you would like remove space. You can also remove space by going into whatever parent group there is and decreasing the block spacing. And that will also remove space, but it removes space between every single block in that group, which may or may not be what you want. So if I know that it's just like one spot, I'll just do it in that individual spot. If I want everything to be a little bit closer, I do it for the group, so everything gets a touch closer. I want this to be centered. Save. So now because the image is larger than the amount of content, my content's going to move down a little. Look next to it. Just like with any other column block, you can make this smaller. So if I want my image to be a little smaller and my content to be a little larger, I can do that too. Hannah, you're like, I don't know if I like this.
I like the other one more.
All right, well, the other one it is. All right, adding the image was easy. We don't have a pretty script font, but I'm going to rework the header areas when I can actually go in and do recipe stuff, unless you guys want to like crowdsource the design for this one. Otherwise, oh, we really already did this one. Oh, you wanted me to add the jump button. That's what I need to do. All right, let's add the jump button. So this content is in columns. I don't think you guys are going to like this, but let's see what happens. Underneath the image is where I want my jump button. So I'm going to try and insert. It's going to be a recipe part. Or actually, he's got a jump to button. Jump to recipe button. It doesn't have any settings. We can't style it. We can't even center it. Here, let's go into the column. I was hoping I could center the column. Can't do that. All right, well, we're just going to pretend it got styled by yours truly. Let me remove the block spacing on this first. So I'm just going to give it 0 block spacing so it's flush. And then I'm going to give it a small amount of negative margin. Negative. A little more. Okay. Oh, it doesn't even work on the front end with the negative margin, which means there's some other CSS that's conflicting with it. How you like it, Hannah?
Nope.
I know. Okay, the recipe stuff is really challenging. So I guess I'm going to need you guys to tell me exactly what you want in your header, because people who showed up live, they're getting to pick the headers.
Yep.
Send me, just sketch out what you want. I'll make it. Put this here, put that there. I did want to do the Erin's Kitchen header because hers is a little bit fancier and it uses less recipe information. So we're going to go like steal it and talk about it. Cool. Before that though, let's look at this on mobile. Okay, so on mobile, you can see all of the content that we had at the top, or on the left shows up the top. I will answer that in a second, Christopher. And then your image is underneath. And so essentially, if you had your jump button here, it would show up underneath this image, which maybe is okay for your audience, but maybe that's too low for you. You'd have to decide. Christopher, to answer your question, could you do a core button block and link to the recipe anchor? You cannot.
Why not?
Why?
Boo.
Because there is no recipe anchor. So lucky you guys, you get to look at code. To jump to an element in HTML, you have to link to what is the ID. Oh, so you could link to recipe. I see, Christopher.
Ooh.
I didn't know that was there. You'd have to make sure that your template already always includes that. I didn't know they had that. So yes.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Make it pretty. Oh, it's already better. I am relieved.
So HTML anchor, just recipe, because that matches this ID. which I am not convinced always exists. Here, center this.
But it does today.
It does today. And we can double check how to make it always exist. Yay.
So
Pretty
much better,
button.
except I want them up more.
You want it up even more?
Yeah. I'd
Okay,
like them
so
all the way.
remember, you want it all the way on top.
Mhm.
You really want it to be hidden for some people with visibility issues because there's not enough contrast. How am I
Shift
making
it
you
where you
feel about
think's
yourself
best.
right now?
Oh, I'm fine.
Okay. So keep in mind that negative margins can be a little weird. So whatever I apply that margin, like that's assuming I know like the height of the content. So let's go back. Like this is why we try and use them sparingly normally. This one looks really good because it's like basically halfway, right?
That's
So
what Laura
almost
said.
halfway.
Listen
Halfway
to
up.
Laura.
Yeah. But like if I change the style of this button, it might look more or less based on like the size of the font. Let's do that one. Okay, so if I make this font larger, or let's start with smaller. Smaller, I feel like I didn't notice a big difference. But here,
Ooh.
when it's larger, you can see like more of it hangs off. And so in this case, where do I have the class? That would have looked nicer. And that's because the margin top is independent of the font size. It's just like a set size, like 20 pixels or 40 pixels. But if this button becomes taller, then it kind of moves. So I feel like that's like relevant to know. You might need to change that, or it's generally better not to use negative margins if you don't know the height of your content. Let me fix the font size on this, and then there's something else I wanted to do. Did you tell me to do something?
Oh no, I'm ready to move on.
She's
We've
done
been
with it,
what's
y'all.
better? You're doing Aaron's kitchen though, which is
Oh
exciting.
yeah, we're
Like,
gonna copy paste Aaron's kitchen. Because watching me create it from scratch would be really boring. And I basically just want to talk about some of the like thoughts behind it. You're welcome.
No, but really, thanks, guys. Eden and Laura both like it.
Okay.
I did not read pumpkin bundt cake. Love that for me.
All right, edit site. Okay, we're gonna do a couple things here. First of all, we're gonna go to our all blocks page. And we're gonna copy our header in there. I'm gonna make it look nicer, but we're just gonna keep a record of it for now. Oh no. Why?
Critical error. Uh-oh.
All right, we're gonna do it on Lauren's local site. All the way at the bottom. This is how I
They're
keep myself
so light.
organized. Yeah. Well, they don't look that light if you use them full width.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my backup, very official backup process. You guys are so welcome. Keep that in mind for the future. Okay, let me insert our new one. Why am I having troubles today? You can see that it automatically changed to use our colors. Because like on her site, her primary color is this dark blue. Her secondary color, or our primary color is this regular pink. All right, we're gonna make it a little, we're gonna have to replace a little bit of stuff. So first of all, we need this to be full width on our site. Most of this like looks okay as is, but remember she had like a background on these areas. So we're gonna figure out where that was. Let's make it pink. Who doesn't love pink? It's me, guys. I've been heckling Hannah. Ugh, I hate that I have to change all these colors. There's probably a better way to do this, but I'm taking shortcuts. And then you need to be black. Let's talk about you. Ooh, that is not cute. Needs improvement. But I feel like it's a good thing to look at, especially if we look at it side by side with Erin's kitchen. Because for one, you can see the recipe difference. This is like the default snippet. I used a snippet here for her in order to get this line of content. And I had to move it all to one place. So if you look at her live site, we had it over on the side. So we had these, and this was recipe information. But it was going to be way hard to do that. And there was going to be a lot of custom CSS, and we're really trying to avoid that. So instead, she's got like inline content right here. So all of her recipe information buttons moved here for now. In order to keep like the design similar to what she had previously. So remember we had these little outlines, and then it was like total time and serves. Instead, we've got her author name and then her updated date. And so the reason that these are over here is we talked about like you can't have those labels and everything. Essentially, I always know there will be a post author, and I will always know there's at least a published date. So even if she hasn't updated the post, it's going to say updated instead of published, because I can't like detect and change that. I just have a static label. But we can still get some of these like kind of fancier layouts. We just have to compromise on what information goes in there, because now our plugins don't have the settings we would need. And if they aren't even going to show up, then I'm just going to have a blue box that's empty. That would make me sad. Your users probably wouldn't care that much, but we would care, right? We would know. And then on mobile, what we've done, you've got the text up top, just like how the right side collapsed on the other version we did where the image was on the right. Now we have those like two columns on the right, and they're collapsed underneath, and we still have them side by side. We've just removed the image and icon to make sure that it doesn't like scroll too much. So really, I copied this over here. It didn't really matter. I just wanted you guys to kind of understand, like, we can do some layouts that are visual. There's a compromise when it comes to what plugins we pull into. So if we look at this one again, this is pulling in the featured image. This automatically pulls in the post title. Here's the summary, and then these are the buttons. Or no, this is the summary and buttons, actually, that have been removed, essentially. And then this is set up for information that will always exist. So I couldn't do just the modified date. This one uses that pin icon that says display the recent date. Otherwise, if I did just the modified date and this hadn't been modified, this would just show updated and then a blank space, and we'd be sad.
Okay, do you see Jessica's question? What if there's no total time to pull?
Okay, so in this example, if there's no total time and we were doing this on a block theme, this would say total time and there'd be nothing underneath it. Like if I set it up and then this was pulling from like a recipe part, everything would exist except for that one field. However, in this example where it says total time, this just won't show. And the reason this one works is because I created it using the WP Recipe Maker snippets and in the template editor. So the interface that I kind of showed that I said, I don't know if it's worth learning this, but you could. That's how I had to create all of these items here, was in that interface. And so they just don't look nearly as fancy as they did previously. But at least in this case, like if there were no servings, it wouldn't keep that label. The whole section would be removed. And I feel like that's essentially because of stuff. I mean, you can see there are benefits of the older way of doing things because like we can use a lot more logic in our code and be really precise, but then like you don't have any power over it. So the new way gives you, there are compromises in terms of like what we can and can't display logically, but you can visually style everything versus like these buttons. Like I can't add more space between here. It's whatever it is unless I add CSS. And like I only have the icons that he chooses, which is kind of the same for our buttons too, but there's just fewer options. I like that. It'll show if the data is there and won't show if it isn't available. Yeah, as long as you're using the template editor. Okay. Post headers, good to go. Do we want to do, oh, we didn't create any blocks or any sidebar stuff.
Fun blocks, but I guess sidebar.
Yes. Okay, you guys are going to send in ideas for blocks. I'm going to put in the existing blocks we have into this example post, and then I'm also going to start making some sidebar stuff using our existing blocks as well. Okay, I almost can't bear to leave that there, but it's better than spending more time on it.
Can't bear to leave it there.
Can't bear. It offends me. Look at these ugly buttons, and this is just all sorts of janky. Okay, edit post, and we need to go get the blocks. All blocks from here as well. So I just want you guys to be able to see these inside of a post. These are the ones we've already created. I'm gonna throw them in the middle here. Okay, so inside of a post, you can see they look a lot nicer than when they're full width. Everything is proportionally prettier. So these are the ones that we've already created that can just be used. We could edit these to however we want. I feel like I would move this up here after all. But those are what exist. So for the sidebar. For the sidebar, we're going to use some of these other blocks that we've created for full width areas, and we're just going to adapt them to work in the sidebar. So right now, because I have both of these sidebars, these like toolbars open, the list view on the left and the block settings on the right, my sidebar is collapsing below the content. So this is my sidebar right here, which I know because I know, but otherwise you would look inside of your list area and then start looking for global sidebar. So right now it has an empty group. I'm going to put all of my other groups inside of this group. So start by just adding a paragraph. That's going to make it easier for me to paste things. I need a bio. Let's see. I need Julie's bio. It's such a small area. We're probably going to have to really, really edit her bio though. But we're going to pull it in for now. So we're going to copy that, pull it in here. That's our bio. We need an email sign up. We have the one that goes inside of the post. You know what I'd like to do? I think I want to do. I'm thinking that I want to do a button like sign up where they would either be taken to a subscribe page or you would link it to a pop-up such as through Opt-in Monster or through like Grow Me or something like that, because then I don't have to put a form in the sidebar. Yeah.
So not perhaps the save this that I linked in the comments?
Oh, she wants save this. Not in my sidebar right now. Get out of here.
Oh, okay, sorry. You asked for in-post recommendations, so I'm gathering ideas.
I did, but I'm not ready for that right now. You guys are adding them for later. We need to subscribe. We need potentially icons for categories, and then we need a post loop. Is this poster manual? Posts. Copy. Paste. And then
Like
we
the
need
most popular
categories.
posts or
So posts is going to be dependent on whatever your SEO recommends. So I think Casey recommends that you put in like your top posts, like the ones that are performing best, like 4 to 8 of them, and then also change out seasonal posts and do again 4 to 8 seasonal ones.
okay.
We're going to do something like this. Here, we'll just copy this whole thing and deconstruct it. Let's look at what this looks like. I can't wait to see how sad this looks. All right, if we throw all that stuff into the sidebar and we don't edit it, it gets teeny tiny. We're going to fix it. Worry not. It's not meant to be there. Okay, so first up, I'm going to remove anything that we don't need. And a lot of stuff that's side by side, no longer going to be side by side. We have 340 pixels exactly to work with. I want you to be like a set size that's smaller.
Eden said, I like making info block for my posts. I talk about cultures and recipe origins. Is there a block I can use for that?
Yes. This needs to just be simpler. Everything's too big in it. Okay, so I think for this block, I'm going to add, I think I have one somewhere actually, maybe in here. I'm going to do something more like this block for Meet Julie. This blue one. We'll do like a tan background for it. For this recipe spotlight, this would be like an image of a download, and then this would essentially be a button. So again, it's going to be stacked. These here, you're not going to have a description usually. We'll leave this in. Like, we love popular posts. And the difference with this is that for this post template, I usually make the text smaller, the gap smaller, and then I'm always going to have 2 by 2. So here, desktop columns, keep it 2. Ooh. For the title, it's already small. I feel like we're probably going to want it to be extra small in the sidebar. And then the gap between, we haven't changed it, so it defaults to medium. I'm going to decrease it to small. So this is stacked. We could like clean this up a bit. This is our popular post now. I do like this smaller font. We don't even need this button for most SEOs. They just want us to have the post linked in here. And then for the icons, same thing. I basically like this right here, and I would just keep one of these sections. So I'm going to get rid of, oops, like all of this column, the later column. I'm going to ungroup that stuff and then give it back its background. Something like that. I have to fix the lines a little bit and some of the spacing, clean that up. But then I feel like it's pretty fun to have icons in there. So I'll probably clean these up and then include something like these for all of the sidebar. And if you guys have other things you put in your sidebar, let me know. Okay, so Eden, let's talk about like specific uses for these blocks that we have created so far. Let's close that one for now. I know I'm doing a lot less polished today, guys, but I feel like we actually have like
stuff to work with.
That we have a lot of stuff we can work with, and so I can like answer more questions and get further with you guys. My screen's frozen.
My computer keeps freezing.
Okay, I'm gonna move on as if it's working, but mine is also seems to be freezing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so for your tips, Eden, where you're doing info boxes, I feel like info boxes are like content in post is pretty easy, especially for text content, because you can really easily add a background to a group. So like, let me say that these 2 paragraphs here, I want them to be like called out. I can just click this group icon. And if I add a background to that, sorry, I need to make sure the group stays selected. Medium spacing. And then I usually decrease the spacing just a little. So remember, medium is like the default like block spacing. I decrease it to small. Like this right here, I know that's not fancy yet. We're going to make fancy stuff. But like super easy to pull information and just give it a background and kind of elevate it. Now, if you want to have tips like that are more visually attractive, then these other blocks that we've created are the direction I would go. So this one here where the image is pulled off to the left, I think we had originally looked at that as like an affiliate link product where like buy this, so like equipment could go here. Because all of this is manual that's being set up here, it is completely like up to your creativity of what you put in there. So you could also do like pair this with or something like that. Hannah.
You know what I want to do.
What do you want to do?
Stick around for the last day, Eden. There will be fun things with small plugins where you could talk about each of your cultures without having to manually input it in each post. And anyway, there's a cool way to make this work really smart and fun for you.
You're talking about like dynamic connector block, which I do not plan on going over on the last day. It is way too complicated for last day vibes.
We're gonna host February
extra time on the last day.
There's a chance you'll have to come around for the next thing that we're doing that Lauren hasn't even agreed that we're doing yet.
Right.
Because we will get very deep into dynamic connector block on that type of accountability group. But it's super smart and fun, and I'm obsessed. Sorry. Move along, guys. Don't mind me.
This is the one I think we intended to be used for tips. And just having like chef's tips or tips from the chef or something like that as the header. And then we did pretty little icons here, but these can be whatever you want. And so, first of all, these are our old pink. Gross.
No one noticed but you.
And then for these, like if you want them to be something.
Oh, you've moved on from the heart.
I feel like this would be like really good, or like a check mark. Like, you're the best. Good job, friends. She says cringe. Really visual latest posts, or not latest posts, but selecting posts. So we just have new here, but you could say like similar or whatever you want. This is in a list, which I particularly like for posts because it does have more of a scroll, but we can also use we can make a version that goes inside posts that works like this one. I would do one without a background. Copy. Paste. And then the only thing I would change about this is since it's being used inside of a post, I would decrease the space between images. We're getting there. So you can use one that's really a row as well. I'll include this one. I'll probably remove like the description. Probably make this smaller too. Like I would do that, I think. So I'll include this one as one that's like specifically meant for posts, but the changes are pretty small. So depending on the block you want to use that's like intended for full width pages, especially with the knowledge that you guys have, coming in and just like changing that block spacing might be very easy. Okay, this was our try it with block as evidenced by the only real text in here. So this would also be really good. Like, I know Kathy, for example, does a lot of like, I want to call it like ingredient basic type posts or whatever. So if you're working with this particular type of ingredient, but then you have like more details about it, this would be a really good block to like link over to an individual highly related post because of how large it is. This is a really good one for chef's tip because you can do your face here. Like you really could do it the same here as well, where this is the chef's tip. It just depends on how you use it. They're just visually a little bit different. But I think that circle really lends itself well to having just like a headshot of you to add that authority behind whatever you're going to say here. For the record, guys, I include a lot of information that I think is going to be optional. So like there's a button here, but you might not need a button. But I put that button in there so that it's easier for you to delete it than to add it. So there's a lot of stuff like on the all blocks page where I've been going in and adding like a pre-title and a description, just so that if you decide you want one, it's there. And if you don't want it, you just delete it. Hannah, you unmuted yourself. What are you going to say?
Would there be any reason to remove that button? Like, don't you want people to click around? You want them to stay on your site. So if they click to another page, like that's a win, right?
Yes, if you have another page.
It is.
But if this is like chef's tips and it's just like about the current recipe and there's nothing else to put there, no reason to have them click anywhere else.
Read all my chef's credentials on why my tip makes the most sense.
True. Let's talk about these icon headers. These ones are pretty cool. People like these. And with block themes, they're so easy. So I added a color to an icon. This is just literally just an image. You guys have seen me do icons before, but it's set up like this, and then you just replace it with whatever you want. Remember that I recommend uploading SVG files. You can get them from Font Awesome for free. You can download, like you can buy icons from like Creative Market or Etsy or anything like that. And then sometimes they'll come as PNGs. So like, for example, you could make your own icon, like make your own icons from Canva. And those things can be exported to transparent PNG. But all those things can also be exported to transparent SVG. I think you should do SVG. We're not cash apping, Christopher. Mute yourself.
I read Christopher's Cash App and it took me so long. I was like, you want a Cash App icon? Do we have it right there? Did you install that? No. He's saying we should Cash App Kathy because she is the smartest chef and her chef's tip just makes sense.
No, like, I don't think he is. No, I think he's saying this button after you give them tips would be Cash App me as a thank you.
I love it.
Christopher, please explain.
No, that's it.
Remember, we're like 20 seconds ahead. We don't have 20-second memories. Okay, so you can replace this. You can change the color to whatever you want. I love this. It's so easy. Yeah, it was for the button. I made a second one that has the color behind it. Same deal. You can change the background color, click on the image, change the icon color. So that's really easy. One thing to note is that these icons are a set size and they have like padding that makes that circle larger. So if you get into like, if you make your header small, your icon's still large. So I would recommend using them primarily with your H2s and not having an overabundance of headers or an overabundance of icons for like every your smaller headers, basically. That's all for the icons. Our cute little video. Look at our cute little video guy. I did not make this a play icon. You guys will be happy to know, but I did include an icon in case you want one there. I think it would look just as good or better without the icon at all, but I threw one in. Okay, anything else that we want to make for in like blocks within a post?
I'm thoroughly overwhelmed at what you have for this post.
Well, I just like
I mean,
copied
other
everything in for demo. You want your save this thing?
I mean, everything I want, I think, is technically a plugin day. I'm like, I want to save this and I want to shop this post where it automatically links. And I think everything that I'm so jazzed up about is just the final day that then rolls into everyone being committed to more days. And it's going to be fine.
To more days. Okay, email this recipe. This is definitely a plugin day.
I know.
There's a lot there.
And then I want Joe Cook to shop this recipe.
Well, we've kind of talked about shop this recipe, so we can really easily make that one. So like,
Cool.
remember that this is a query loop, right? But like, if I wanted to change this to products, I would just come into the query loop block. I know I'm using my arrows, but if you guys were doing it, you probably would use list view, go into your query loop, and then just change this from post to product link. And then we're going to change these. Where's my image size? There we go. Square, contain, no drop shadow, save. All right, tell me you love your shop this post block.
I love my shop this post block. I wasn't fully paying attention. My daughter just came off the bus. I'm sorry, guys. But I love my shop this post block. It looks so great.
Let me show you guys the table of contents. That's a plugin day, but now we're getting into like post specific plugins. So let's do it. Shop this product. We kind of talked about the plugin, but I can talk about it more later. I know that I said previously how this kind of works when we did templates, where we did the like shop page. So essentially this is pulling from a plugin, but the block itself doesn't like require any plugins. It's just that if you don't have the plugin installed, you won't have product link as a dropdown. So I'll include this block, and then I'll make sure, for some reason I don't have it on our all blocks page, but I'll include the original ones we made on there. Jessica's been asking about the table of contents, so I feel like that would be a really relevant one for today.
Eden had a question though. Can we make the shop my post block scroll, or is that a plugin? I don't think it's a plugin. It's just the query loop, how it's set on a grid, right?
Actually, I don't know.
Okay.
So that's something I was playing with the other day, and I haven't done it yet. I can do, we can do icons. Sorry, I'm on the wrong page. So remember, I made some new blocks and I did icons, and those ones do have scroll. these here. So these can scroll. This one scrolls on mobile. This one scrolls on desktop. They work basically like the menu up here. This one where it scrolls on menu and we are on mobile, and we saw that. But all of those use manual content. Like you're inserting buttons, you're inserting images, you're inserting titles. And whenever I tried doing this with a query loop, it was not working as expected. So I'm sure it's possible, but I don't have any working that we can actually set that up. Because I
Christopher, that's
started
your
doing
homework.
it. Yeah, exactly. No, because I have so much homework I have to prep the patterns for tomorrow.
Oh. No, I assigned it to
Um,
Christopher, not you. It's fine. It's not on your
Oh, good.
plate.
Christopher has so much homework tonight.
Yes, yes, yes.
So the
Poor guy.
query loop, I cannot get it to scroll yet. I will work on that for you, Eden.
Cool.
If you did it as manual content, so I could make you one that looks like, well, I guess this is the closest I have right now. These are all manual. Remember, we manually put in each image and then the button underneath. Like you could do that, but that really defeats the purpose of a lot of the shop. Like you can't easily update that then, which is really why we talked about the shop being awesome, is because you can like reuse products. You don't have to re-get the image and the link. You just like select it from a drop down. If you're doing manual, then you're copy pasting all of that. Yeah. So workflow kind of goes down the drain with that.
It's almost
So
like
I will
Hannah's
work on
manual
actually. What?
header. It's almost like Hannah's manual header.
Yes. Yeah, it's a bit like that. Goodness gracious.
There's so many bloggers living their life like this. Just because you live by the think smarter, not harder, doesn't mean that we don't all revert to that.
There are plenty of cases where I think it would be fine. That particular example, though, is just cross the line. Okay, are we gonna do the
Table of
table of
contents?
contents? Okay.
I vote yes. It'll be quick and easy, right? So painless. Mike C's got us hooked up.
Okay, we're gonna close things and then come back later and need them, remember?
It is your
Okay,
moment.
this is a plugin. So, table of contents. The one that I'm using, because it's the least bad one, is called Easy Table of Contents. We'll go ahead and update that. I know, that's a raving review. I've tested a lot. This one just consistently works. So I like it. I switched to a different one because Casey was recommending it for a while, but then Casey switched to this one. And I was like, okay, we're switching back. So easy table of contents, recommended table of contents plugin, pretty much automatic. You don't have to do anything. We are going to look at the settings for that, which I have pulled up. Everything we do with it, we're going to do through these settings. The only thing that we could do differently and might do differently is how we insert it. But for now, we're going to auto insert it inside of posts. And then it says it's going to insert before the first heading by default. We're going to see how that goes. Save changes. Okay, so inside of the first post, or before the first post, is inside of this block. And then our table of contents is not very pretty. Like it just doesn't look like the rest of our site. So there's a few things we can do about that. We're going to look at it. First of all, we're going to make it look, first of all, we're going to fix the position of it by looking at another plugin. Automatic Block Inserter, one of the small plugins that we use, is to help you. It is the best ever. This one was Hannah's idea. I think our second best ever plugin was Christopher's idea. And then I'll take credit for all
it first. It's okay. Yeah, Lauren did everything else.
Like the most popular ones. Not by me. It's fine.
That's because I got frustrated with hers. It's like your stuff is so smart, but how do you smartly stick it places?
Okay. So after third paragraph is where we're going to insert this content. You can name it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. This is just for your own organizational purposes. Again, there's no block for it. I'm sure you guys are surprised at this point. So luckily I've just memorized the short code for it.
Should we
We're gonna
send
click
them that
publish.
YouTube song? Surprise, surprise.
No. I didn't actually change the settings, guys. You have to go into the automatic block settings underneath position. I'm going to say that I want it to only insert on posts. I want it to be after a specific block. That block is going to be a paragraph. And then I want it to be after the third paragraph. So we're going to not select this first, just so you can see how this one works. But then it's inserting my table of contents after the first, second, third paragraph. But it has the exact same problem that the plugin has out of the box. So even though like there's a little bit more options of like where it gets inserted, it's still getting inside of a stylized block, which is a problem because we don't know where those blocks are in the post. Like I can't know that my first paragraph is always going to be a plain paragraph and not like inside of something that's styled. So that's what the handy dandy top level blocks is for. It limits it to non-nested blocks. So updating failed.
You thought you were handy dandy.
What do we think
Not allowed.
SPPR post relationships is? Cool. We have no clue.
People who post a lot about their relationship.
Well, it did work, didn't it?
Where is it?
This is the third not nested paragraph.
So far.
It is so far. But I needed it to be third because I knew that the example would work. So we're going to leave it here and we're going to style it now. This is just demonstrating that plugins have not fully considered what's possible in block editors. And so you sometimes need extra stuff. Oh, the beta plugin. It's okay. It didn't matter.
What?
Small plugins, post relationships. Okay. Where am I? We don't need to auto insert anymore, but you can leave it on. The plugin is smart enough to know that you've already added it, and so it won't re-add it. And then we're pretty much limited to style settings within this plugin. So I'm going to take you through my default settings. You guys can like play with whatever styles you want if you're setting up a table of contents, but I'll just talk through these because I do this for almost every site. Okay, so position's not going to matter because we're inserting it differently. I have it only show, I normally do like 3 or 4 headings are present. Doesn't really matter. Show header text above the table of contents. Yes, that's what shows this table of contents here. Toggle on text header. That means that if I click on this title, it'll open and close. So instead of just having this button, ooh, I do not like that. I can do it on the title. I always enable that personally. The header, you can say what you want it to be. Just leave it as a paragraph. It doesn't matter. Allow them to toggle the visibility. That's this right here. I leave that on. I like it. You can decide if you want it initially hidden. I have a number of clients who do initially hide it, especially if they use so many headings that it like is really, really long. But it's totally up to you. Let's go ahead. Let's leave it unhidden, but we can look at it later what it looks like. You can show as hierarchy. So like if you're using H2, H3, H4, this will like nest your list so that it has that hierarchy. I generally recommend it if you're going to show those additional headings, but as you'll see later, I'm normally not going to. So we'll get to that in a second. Because you can see right now like how long this table of contents is, and it's including a lot of headings from like post content that I just don't need in this table of contents. Counter, I leave that normal. This stuff is like styling stuff you probably don't need to do. I actually don't know the difference between JavaScript and pure CSS. I'm pretty sure the pure CSS option still uses JavaScript for certain methods, But I always switch to pure CSS because I don't like JavaScript. And so if I can't tell that there's a difference, I don't know why I'm loading the JavaScript. So I get rid of that. For the width, I always change this to 100%. See how that like changes widths? Oh, that drives me crazy. So I change that to 100. I don't add any of this wrapping or padding. The font sizes, I personally just leave them at 100% because that should inherit like whatever the default sizes are. You could leave them as what they are. Like they look fine in my opinion, but we're going to see what 100% looks like. And then theme custom, that's going to let you choose your colors. So you need to have this set to custom to actually pull in these colors here. And then does it have any of our brand colors? No, it doesn't like us that much. So we just have to remember or get something close enough to whatever our brand colors are and hope for the best. I want the border to like not be visible. Title can be black. Links, I'm actually probably just going to make my links black. Oh, that's a pink.
More fuchsia, really.
Okay, let's just start with that. I will actually go through those advanced settings, a couple of them at least. But like, this looks a little better. I probably will include, I mean, it would look better if the colors were nicer. I think that, oh, I forgot the heading is actually not a heading, so we do need to keep that as a larger font size. Okay, my screen did not like that. Let's change these back to like 120, 90. I don't know what the child font size was. Decimal. So decimal here, these like numbers, they're okay. I'll probably just change it to a circle though, or a disc specifically. Okay, let's look it through the advanced. The styles are like, if the colors were there, they'd look a little bit better. The disc is going to look a little nicer. We're going to shorten it. It'll look okay. Okay, so you don't really have to worry about the lowercase hyphenate, like a lot of these specific pages, unless you're including table of contents on these pages, or you're having issues where your table of contents isn't working. The thing that I would normally do is change these headings to only be H2 and maybe H3, but I personally prefer it when it's only H2. So I'm just clicking enter there to save that. You can see how much shorter that got. And then if there's certain things that are showing up in your content, like let's say you built a reusable block, but it doesn't make sense for your table of contents to actually include that reusable block. So in this example, let's say that you always have a block in your post that says meet Julie and it's your bio. And you're like, that doesn't need to be in my table of contents. I'm inserting it with automatic block inserter because I want it to be in a specific place, but it doesn't make sense here. That's where you would want to use this exclude headings, and it has to be pretty much exactly the heading. So there's only going to be use cases where you want it because something's being inserted that's always the same. But if you had a heading, like if you've been inserting like more favorite recipes and more top recipes and more popular recipes, and you're changing that heading every time, like it's not as easy to exclude those. So this will be smartest here. In those cases, like you could change that heading to not actually be a heading, but just look like one. And that would get rid of it showing up here. Smooth scroll, if you have a sticky header, you might need this. Usually I leave that as what it is. Again, if your mobile sticky header is a different height, that's the only reason you'd have a different one from the normal to mobile. And then everything else here. I guess I do normally remove this colon from table of contents. So if you have like your titles sometimes say like see more great recipes and then you have that colon, it's just less attractive when it shows up in your table of contents. And so I disable this for my clients in case they're using that because it doesn't make sense in your table of contents. Otherwise, the only other thing that you might need, I can't remember if it's this plugin. Let me look real quick. Short heading display. Okay, so this setting right here, generate table of contents link IDs. If you're using automatic block inserter to add the table of contents like we are, then you generally want to have this enabled. And this basically just says, hey, you might not know that I'm inserting the table of contents, but just assume that I am. And then the plugin will like, this one happened to be working, so it probably wouldn't have been a problem for this particular setup, but it's safer to go ahead and just enable that. And you can see we got rid of Meet Julie, wherever that was in here, because we excluded it. Okay, that's everything for the table of contents. I think it looks pretty decent the way it is. Let's collapse it. I was trying to decide toggle, initially hide so you can see what that looks like. I was trying to decide if I would do custom styles for this, but I probably won't. I'll probably leave it where you would just use the plugin settings because it might be confusing otherwise. So this will be easiest. Can you exclude it from
posts? Sorry.
No problem. I don't know.
From automatic block inserter, you could.
From automatic block inserter, you could.
Yeah.
It'll be a little finicky. Let me look at other posts.
Don't worry.
I'm thinking, so I'm pretty sure Joe Cooks, I think, manually inserts hers where she wants it. Oh yeah. Don't forget it's a short code. So I think she has automatic insertion completely disabled. And then, yeah, because I don't see any settings. I'm looking for settings here, like, or in any of these areas where you can disable it, but I don't think you can. So she, instead of having it automatically inserted, she comes in here and actually manually puts the shortcode into the post where she does want it. And I don't know if it's her, it could be someone else, but essentially the reason that they do that is is because they only have some posts that are really long. And a lot of their other posts, they're just like, there's not enough headings for it to be useful. And so they're doing it, they're including it less often than they're excluding it. Makes more sense. Let's talk about automatic block inserter. Let's move on from Larm being confusing. Automatic block inserter, you can disable, you can't do it through this.
What do you mean?
You have to do it through dynamic connector block.
I want you to click and show me.
Hannah just really wants to go over dynamic connector block.
No, I don't. There's no include exclude. There's not.
No. All this does is insert. It doesn't handle any sort of logic about like when to insert. That's what dynamic connector block does.
Bummer. Sorry, guys. You're married to both.
I can show you that, but that's almost not worth it for this one thing. I have so many old posts with wonky headings. I'm fixing them all on an ongoing basis. I would not want table of contents to automatically show up on those posts. Yeah, I don't think that there's any other way to exclude them other than to use honestly, dynamic connector block is not going to be the solution for that. Because you have older ones. I think you would have to just deal with it. or wait to add the table of contents until you've updated your old posts, or manually add the table of contents to new posts only, or like top posts or something like that. Yeah, because there's not a good way to exclude those. Hannah, have Reagan wave.
Sorry, I'm over here trying to find a workaround with an automatic block inserter. Reagan, say hey. Hello. We're waiting to go to dance class. Very patiently.
Oh yeah, because we're nearing. I have really talked today, y'all. She's yelling at me on mute, and I'm not sad.
It's better that way. You spent an hour on post headers. It's why I love you, but man, it hurt me.
Oh, I am so sorry.
You're not sorry.
I'm not
It
sorry.
was a great day.
I'm gonna let you guys go because Hannah's done. No, also I don't have anything else to add at this point. I'm sure there's more plugins we could go over that are post specific, but I have a whole day set for plugins. And at this point, we've talked about half of them. So it's going to be like
Whoa.
template day where I'm like, I've already covered all these topics. There's barely anything left.
You think the conversation will ever end on plugins? Because I feel like it's just
There's so many questions that'll come up with
infinite.
plugins.
Yeah.
So that'll be a really good, like, how do we get other people to join us on this day?
Some
That'll be
marketing
fun.
girls should really run ads.
Oh no, I meant like, how do we get like Jessica and Julie and everyone to like be on video? Can we invite them with this?
Oh, maybe.
That'd be fun. Because I bet there are a lot of plugin questions.
Yeah. Surely we can. I have most people's email.
Everyone who's been here is about to be going through StreamYard with us. It's just going to be like a webinar at this point, but like nobody's watching it because we're all in it.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's great. Okay, guys. I'm glad that you like this one. I have plenty of homework. We've given Christopher plenty of homework.
Oh,
Yeah, see, Jessica says we can do it somehow. But Jessica,
yeah, we thought
did
we
you
could
see us on day
too.
one?
It turns out we can't.
We actually don't know what we're doing, guys, but thank you for joining us. Okay. Let's head out, and then I will see you guys tomorrow. Patterns is kind of like my favorite day, so I'll probably get to it tomorrow, and I'll be like, actually, you just click these buttons and you're done. What do you guys want to talk about next?
No, there's going to be so much. It'll be overwhelming. It's going to be a lot. I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for hanging out, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.